My entitled ex is demanding child support payments for a kid that isn't even mine. And worst of all, my mother and sister are on their side, and I honestly don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Some years ago, I dated a girl, and the relationship was just bad. She was very controlling and very abusive. It ended up really bad and we just broke up. I kept on going with my life, and after some years, I got a decent job, and this job was enough to solve all my needs. And now I have a comfortable life, and I'm able to save some of my money. The thing is, a couple of months after getting my job, my ex contacted me, and at first, all she wanted to do was talk. I believe that she may want to reconnect or something, but she showed up with a 5-year-old child claiming that he was my son and demanded child support. I didn't believe her, but her child's age matched up when we cut off contact. I got advice from a lawyer to try and solve this out of court, so I offered to take responsibility and pay all the costs and being an active partner of the kid's life, only after making a DNA test. Everyone was okay with this except for my ex. She acted offended. She then demanded that I just give her the money that she deserved. She used all the excuses that she could, even contacting my family and telling them that I was trying to avoid taking responsibility for her child. When she ran out of excuses and the DNA test was finally made, much to nobody's surprise, I'm not the father. She was so mad with the results and cried about the money, saying it was unfair and that she deserved it, but she didn't accomplish anything. Fast forward to last week, there was a little party at my parents' house. My brother, a friend, and I were talking, and my brother started to joke about the situation with my ex. My friend and I started to joke about it too, and some of our comments were a little bit dark and bad, but we were far away from the rest of the people, literally on the opposite side of the house, so nobody else could hear us. At least that's what we thought. We were just laughing like crazy when my sister appeared very angry and pushed me against the wall. She spied us and heard the conversation, and she was very mad. She then started to yell at us about how terrible of people we were for mocking a poor woman. A few hours later, when the party ended, she asked me to go to the kitchen with our parents, and she started to say how awful I was for the previous situation. Apparently, my ex had been in contact with her, and she believed her version of the story, and that this was her way of having some kind of intervention. My brother and I were like, "Are you serious? You can't be serious, right?" Especially when she started to say how I forced my ex into being a single mother, and that apparently I had a moral obligation to help her out. My dad only said that maybe we were being too cruel making jokes about her, and that I was responsible for that kid. My mom then surprised all of us when she said, "Even if the kid is not yours, you are making more than enough money to support that child. You should have helped her out." Since then, I've been receiving text messages from my dad and my brother who are on my side saying I'm not responsible for her, but my sister is telling me how horrible I am for basically ruining her life. My mom only said, "Well, it's your decision and I respect it. I'm just very disappointed that you ended up being so selfish. I'm aware that she doesn't deserve money and I'm not planning to give her any, but the constant harassment from my sister trying to guilt trip me into giving money to my crazy ex-girlfriend is honestly just exhausting. Your mom and sister are giant pieces of garbage, as well as your ex-girlfriend. All of them collectively giant pieces of garbage. The fact that they would try and guilt trip you into giving money to your ex, who is very clearly just trying to steal money out of your pocket, is disgusting. I'm honestly surprised you didn't go back to them with a DNA test, shove it in their face and say, "Here you go, the kid's not mine." Like legitimately, you do not owe that lady any money. She clearly only came back to you because you have a well-paying job and all your needs are being met. She literally only wanted you for money. So I don't blame you for stepping back and saying, "Hey, I don't owe you anything." And as for the jokes at this lady's expense, honestly, if I was in this situation, I probably would be doing the same thing. Humor is a great way of coping with stressful situations, and obviously these were made in private, and it's not like he was posting this all over social media or something. It was literally amongst his friends and his brother, which also begs the question, why was his sister eavesdropping in the shadows, trying to figure out what's going on? Like, in my opinion, I think it's time to distance yourself from your mom and your sister, because clearly they're on your ex's side, which in my opinion is just ridiculous. And I seriously can't believe that your mom's like, "You already make enough money, you should just give her money anyways." That's such a toxic thing to say, like as if you didn't work hard enough already just to get the job that you have and the money that you currently have as well. So in my opinion, I would ignore them completely and keep moving forward with your life. And you're going to enjoy that life because you won't have to make child support payments for a kid that isn't even yours. My boyfriend's depression is slowly starting to make my depression even worse, especially since he refuses to accept that he is depressed. And now I'm considering breaking up with him because of this, and I'm not sure what to do. I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years now. We've been through a lot together and have been facing with more than our fair share of issues, especially financial ones. When I first met my boyfriend, he had debts, huge ones at that. He first didn't want to share it with me and asked me for help behind fake stories. We broke up shortly because of the lying and then got back together, but I've never really been able to fully trust him ever since then. I did help him with his financial situation to the point where I'm today in the same situation with debts. parents. I lost my job. I'm having a really hard time finding a new one, and it's the same situation for him. For 3 years, we've been together through a lot. I had business partners stealing from me. We had accidents with a lot to pay. We had a flooding that we needed to deal with. My card had been hacked. The list goes on. I've always had a tendency to fall into depression, and with all that's been going on, I think I'm hitting my limits. I do see a therapist, but this depression episode is the worst ever, and I can't stop crying and so on. The thing is, my boyfriend is also depressed because of all of this, and rightfully so, but his reaction to this is sleeping, waiting for things to get done like cooking or cleaning, and he is so irritable that it's a pain to even talk to him, which he doesn't even want to do that anymore. He considers his situation to be a lot worse because he compares himself to me and considers me Wonder Woman, assuming that I can deal with everything. Because of our financial issue, we have been considering living with my parents. My family is just the best. They're super helpful and they offered this to us. But I know that his attitude will never be appreciated by my parents and that it will likely embarrass me very badly. The overall situation is just draining me emotionally. He has no family and no friends in the country, so I feel responsible for him. But I feel like my only exit is for me to go back and live with my parents alone. But I know that for him, it will be the last big hit and that he will not be able to manage it. We had a talk tonight about the situation, and once more, he just doesn't acknowledge the fact that it is very visible that he's depressed and might need to get into therapy. He is then coming to me to try and make me laugh and change my mood. But I don't want us to bury our head in the sand any longer and ignore this. If he were willing to address the situation, I would be his support without question. But I'm honestly at a loss. I'm thinking that maybe your common depression might be a red flag that this is just not supposed to work out. What should I do? This is definitely a tricky situation because you have a full awareness that yeah, you struggle with depression, but your boyfriend is not willing to admit it, which can probably be very frustrating in this relationship. You can see the writing on the wall, you can see the symptoms and all the things going on and stuff like that, and he just is not ready to accept that, which is fine. And if you're not compatible in that way and it's causing problems with your relationship, then this is definitely something you need to reevaluate. And I don't think there's any harm in thinking about yourself in this situation. So hopefully this all works out for you, and hopefully your boyfriend is at least able to find the help that he needs, because it sounds like he needs it, especially considering all the things that both of you have been through. I have been ignored for a year by my husband, and I just found out why, and now I don't know what to do. I'm a 35-year-old female, and I've been married to my husband for 8 years, and my husband has been very distant for well over a year now. I have tried over and over to talk to him, to get him to open up to me, but he keeps telling me that we'll talk later. But later just doesn't happen. He keeps me shut out completely. I am a stay-at-home mom. We have 2 kids, both under 7 years old, that he does not pay attention to. He doesn't help with any chores. He doesn't help with the kids. Whenever they try to get his attention, or even try just to talk to him, he gets really irritated, and then he ends up yelling at them just to leave him alone, and leaves the room anytime any one of us comes into it just to see him. I honestly feel like I'm living with a stranger. When he comes home from work, he goes straight to his computer and spends all of his time on it. If he's off from work, he's on his computer literally all day. He left his computer open and I looked at it. I understand that it's an invasion of privacy, and I know I shouldn't have, but I did. I found out that he's been looking at a lot of inappropriate pictures online, if you know what I mean. I also found out that he's been sending some DMs with some other people where they were talking about possibly meeting up, but he hasn't responded yet. And he even went as far as to look up and find out that this person he was messaging lives in our city. I'm so devastated that he's trying to have another relationship outside of our marriage. We are not in an open marriage, and this isn't the first time where he secretly tried to meet up with someone. A couple of years ago, he met up with a woman who he was interested in the guise of trying to do an art project with her, and got shut down when he realized she was just trying to be nice and wanted nothing to do with him. I don't know if he's met up with any more people from the first time that he did it, but after these DMs with this other person, I'm just not sure. I honestly don't know what to do. I don't know how to go about talking about it with him. I'm just so sick to my stomach about all of it, and I'm at a loss of how to proceed. Well, it sounds like your husband is basically going behind your back to try and meet up with another woman, which is completely inappropriate. And it sounds like he's tried this once before, but it failed miserably. And now it sounds like he's found somebody who could possibly make this happen, which is terrible for you and your kids. He is literally throwing your marriage out the window, and that is not fair for you. So in my opinion, I think it's time to talk to a divorce attorney. The last thing I'm going to do is tell you whether you should or shouldn't get divorced. That's none of my business. But from the outside looking in, I would take the steps necessary to secure some kind of future for you as well as your kids. It might be time for you to step up and do what you can to protect them. He's mistreating and yelling at your kids, and he's treating you like garbage. Your children are going to have a lifetime of wondering why their dad walked out on them, and they're going to need a parent who actually cares and that is actually going to be there for them. So it's time to step up and think about the future of your children, because your husband has made a very clear choice that he wants to try and mess around while you're married, and that's that's honestly only gonna cause problems in this relationship. My sister blocked me because I wouldn't cancel my plans just to see her and her son, and now I don't know what to do. The title says it all. My sister blocked me because I had other plans, and I couldn't come visit her and my nephew. For some backstory, I am in the military, and I come home to visit about once a year. My sister has some behavioral and mental health issues. I'm home visiting for 2 weeks. I have a big family and a good amount of friends. I try to see everyone I can while I'm here, and I always end up driving hours and hours out of the day trying to see everyone while I'm in town. Because even though I drove over 1,000 miles to come here, I'm still the one that has to travel everywhere to see everyone that's here. My sister has a baby boy. My nephew's almost 1 year old. I met him in real life for the first time while I've been here. I've gone to see him twice. One time, I even left a family reunion early to see him, and I arrived to a family event on the other side late just so I could see him again. There were people I wouldn't be able to see if I didn't come to these events. I had a great time and I had a lot of fun. Today, I have plans to meet in real life with another group of people that I game with daily and have been for the past 3 years. We've been planning this for months, and today is the only day everyone's schedules match up. We're all going to a restaurant and I have to pick up 2 of them on the way. My sister suddenly messaged me out of nowhere asking me if I would be able to come and visit her. I explained that I had plans and I unfortunately could not. But after I said that, she blew up on me and said that she doesn't want to see me again before I leave. And then she blocked me and isn't answering any of my text messages either. At this point, I don't know what to do. I'm definitely not going to cancel my plans, but I feel like absolute trash now. She knows exactly how to make me feel bad in the worst possible ways. I also struggle with depression and see a therapist regularly. How do I best approach my sister to try and get her to understand and maybe try to calm her down? I leave in 3 days and I don't want to leave like this. What should I do? Your sister's being very manipulative. She's using your depression and your anxiety against you. At this point, she has to know that you're here on limited time. You don't have all the time in the world to see people, and you plan this event with your friends months in advance. So for you to just give that up all of a sudden and say, hey, I'm gonna go see my sister instead, would be very insulting to the people that you planned with. And honestly, the fact that your sister doesn't understand that is definitely her problem. This is not your problem in the slightest. So I honestly would not feel bad about this situation. And you said it yourself. She knows exactly how to make you feel bad in the worst possible way. So I just would not allow her to use these tactics just to make you feel like garbage so that you can bend to her will. Because that's exactly what she's doing from my perspective. So if I was in your shoes, I would go about with my plans just like normal and ignore this temper tantrum because you already have plans. And if she can't understand that like legitimately, then that is her problem, not yours. My stepdad is in love with me and I don't know what to do. I'm 22 years old and I've had my stepdad around for about 12 years now, and I'm at a point where I'm pretty sure he's in love with me. This is a very intense assumption, but I'm not a delusional woman that likes the drama that comes with such attention. He has been diagnosed with MS, a form of Parkinson's recently, and he only has a couple of years left to live. With this diagnosis, his behavior has been more apparent in contrast than within the past couple of years, because I've always had a suspicion. He has his own kids, 4 of them in fact, and I have 3 sisters, and his attention has always gravitated towards me. My mother and my stepdad don't share any kids. Also, I'm the youngest. He's a shy man who keeps to himself, but in slick ways, he has always made it apparent that I'm his favorite. This was usually made clear through my mother as well. She has made comments on how he always talks to me, how proud he is of me, and how beautiful and smart I am, which can be seen at face value as pretty innocent for the most part. But my mom is a very accommodating woman. She goes along with him to please him, and I'm pretty sure it just goes right over her head. But it goes even further. He texts me unusual stuff sometimes. He mentions how he sometimes stares at my profile picture just to admire me. He calls me his princess, his little one, and many other things that come off as flirtatious. He never does this when anyone else is around, so usually it's just over text messaging. I'm certain of the fact that he doesn't call his own kids or my sisters anything similar. He only does this with my mother as well, but he is not even that direct or flirtatious with her. It's bizarre. He's a simple, unromantic man, so this is something that he doesn't even do in his own relationship, so it makes me question why he's doing this to me. Recently, he saw me wearing one of his old sweaters he gave my mom because I was cold, and when he got home, he text messaged me and said that he loved seeing me wearing his clothes, which I didn't know how to respond. Over the years, he was planning to immigrate to Canada, and he had always made the comment, but only if the little ones come along with us, and he was very serious about it as well, looking for universities for me and making plays for my paperwork even before I even agreed on joining them, which isn't that weird overall, but I'm a grown woman, and he doesn't need for me to just tag along like I'm a kid that's dependent on him. If I was still underage, sure, that's understandable. If that were the case, then yes, they should take care of me and think of me, but that isn't the current situation. My other sister also still lives at home, and he never had the intention to take her as well, which made it apparent he only wanted me to go with them. To make the situation even weirder, he once made the comment, as well as the joke I'm assuming, basically suggesting that we just leave my mother behind and that me and him just move away together. My mother wasn't present, and it felt like the joke had a hidden meaning. He was very pushy about it and never truly asked me to do that, but simply made the assumption that I wanted to go with them. And in the rare moments that I'm alone with him, the tensions between us become very high in the household. He doesn't live with us, and he never has, so I usually see him on the weekends when he comes to pick my mom up. But when we, my mother and I, or my sister and I, had arguments, I was usually the one to walk away to go to my room. He would then come to my room to ease the tension and try to fix it. One time, I was having an argument with my sister. I was sitting on my balcony, and he came to talk to me. After some conversation, I got emotional, which I rarely am. I cried and he comforted me, which is also very rare because it's not often that I'm vulnerable in front of another. He hugged me, which also never happens because I'm not an affectionate person, but I just accepted it because at the time I feel like he meant well. When he pulled away, he stared into my eyes and cupped my face. It was at night, and we couldn't see each other that clearly, but I could swear on everything he had the intention to kiss me. I felt overwhelmed. I pulled away and started the conversation almost instantaneously to ease the awkwardness, and after that happened, I never spoke up about it. I'm a very private person, so I rarely speak about my love life, but on the rare occasion that I do, I usually get comments like, "Oh, you are such a pretty and smart woman," and then he'll basically say that I should have a man like him. I have many other things to push my point, but to come to the question, he lives further away from us, but because of his condition, he was to move, which I don't look forward to at all. He wants to get an apartment on the same street as us just to be close to my mom, so that she can take care of him. This is understandable, but last night I got a text message that he had only sent to me and not my sister or my mother, going on about how he's doing this to be close to me, and so I can easily come visit him before his condition becomes, well, unfortunate. I think this diagnosis is fading away his morals, and he is getting more outspoken about his feelings for me because of it. But I can't talk to my mother about this. I simply can't. I would not be able to tolerate him living so close by. He would expect a lot of attention, and it would make me very anxious. He is a very egotistical man, besides him being kind, and would take it as an offense, especially given the circumstances. His feelings for me are strange and inappropriate, but I would get nothing out of it to speak up about them. I can tolerate it, but only if he lives as far away as he does now. I'm honestly at a loss, and I don't know what to do. This is a terrible situation to be stuck in, but my automatic thought when I was reading through this was that maybe you need to move. Like, if this guy really is trying to make advances on you, then you need to get away from him. And I think you definitely need to talk to your mom about this. You need to share that text message and say, "Hey, this is what's going on," and then explain to her that you feel very uncomfortable around him. Also, the original poster is 22 years old. Moving out and finding an apartment with some kind of roommate situation is possible, and under no circumstances, in my opinion, if he's acting this way, should you ever be alone with him ever again. It's not appropriate, he's being weird, and there's no reason for you to put yourself in that situation. So I think now's the time for you to start taking steps to move yourself out and move yourself away from this man, because his behavior is incredibly inappropriate, and you absolutely do not have to put up with that. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description, and the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.